Everywhere you turn, somebody is talking about fasting. And one of the fasts that they talk about is intermittent fasting. So, what is intermittent fasting? What is it used for? What are the different types? That's what we're covering tonight here on Dwain Woode, MD. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new year, new you. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to put their diabetes in remission, who want to get off of diabetes medications, who want to improve their metabolic health. In fact, diabetics who want to reverse their diabetes. And we've been using fasting as an amazing tool that allows us to do that. And you've caught me right now. I am actually 97 hours and 5 minutes into this fast, and I'm going to break the fast right here on the show with you tonight. Welcome, 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 wherever you're joining us from. If you're on TikTok, if you're on Instagram, if you're on YouTube, if you're on LinkedIn, wherever you are, we're glad that you are here and just so excited to be with you. You know how we do it here on the channel. I've got my monitors, I've got my meters, everything all set, ready for us to take a look. And you see that I've got that over here on the side with my trusty little container with my strips. Down right below, you'll see what my my report is showing. We'll take a look at that here in just a minute. And we'll take a look also at what my blood sugars are based on my continuous glucose monitors. And you'll see one of them coming up right there and hopefully in just a minute. But we'll take a look at those here in just a minute. As I always do with the check-in, I want to make sure that we do a check-in, right? As I do this check-in, tonight I'm 97 hours, y'all, 97 hours into this fast. So let's hop over and take a look at what's been going on. So as I do the check-in, these are the main components that will either help you have a good fast or have you have a not so good fast. And so these are the three components that I always want to make sure that we're looking at. How am I doing physically, mentally, and how am I doing emotionally? And so physically, the things that people talk about, I'll talk about that first and then I'll talk about me. How am I feeling in terms of fatigue, energy level, palpitations, lightheadedness, dizziness, and so forth? I'm not feeling any of those. I am a little fatigued. Let me go back. I am a little fatigued, and that's because I have been up later than I need to be. Okay. But in terms of those other symptoms, lightheadedness, sweatiness, dizziness, palpitations, not feeling any of those at all. If you remember a couple weeks ago, I did a check-in where I talked about feeling a little woozy, lightheaded, when I went from a bending position to a standing position because I was doing some stuff in the office. And if you'll recall, at that time, I had not been doing a good job of maintaining my hydration. Okay, this time I'm doing actually a pretty good job of hydrating, and so not feeling any of those at all. Yesterday, I did feel some low energy. If you recall, when I did my check-in, I said that in the afternoon, I was feeling just like an energy drop, right? So that usually doesn't happen to me. Either I'm a little sleepy or something like that. But yesterday I felt a definite time in the afternoon where I felt like my energy dropped. I got up, I went, walked downstairs, came back up, talked with some of my folks in the office, and actually felt much better. Okay, so physically, that's where I am. Mentally, I'm feeling very clear, not feeling dull, not feeling groggy, not feeling as though there is, sometimes you'll feel as though your thought process is a little behind you, and you're trying to think of something, trying to do something, and it's just not quite coming. That's not there with me. And that's not been one that I've struggled with. I know several people say that they have. When I am going through my fast, and we'll do an extended discussion of the fasting process tomorrow. But when you are out of that 12 to 18 hours, then you actually begin to feel that energy as the body's switching over into burning ketones. And I think that's where I am. And that also plays a part in my mentation, my thought process, and so forth. And then emotionally, excuse me, emotionally, this has been a pretty good week. Not a lot of stressful things in the coming out of the fast, in the fast, or not anticipating a bunch of stressful things happening. And so I've been excited to hang out with my family. My son is in the office with me this week, and that's been just amazing. So glad that I was able to hang out and do that. So not having any issues right now in terms of physically, mentally, and emotionally. As I say all the time, the way that you approach the fast has a big part to play in how you are going to get through that fast and how successful you're going to be. So make sure that you are paying attention to starting the fast, getting through the fast, and so on and so forth. Okay, all right. And so now let's hop over and let's take a look at. Let's see if my monitor has come up. For some reason, my monitors, my CGMs were not connecting earlier. All right, so let's hop over and let's take a look. And this right now is my my Libre that you're seeing on the screen. And so the Libre right now is saying that blood sugars are 60. My blood sugar is 65. And you'll see at the bottom, that's the graph for the last 6 hours. Sorry, this is the Dexcom, not the Libre. Down at the bottom, this is the graph that's been there for the last 6 hours. And you see it's just kind of straddling the 70s, right? So the top of that line is 70, and it's just going, a couple of times it went above, and then kind of straddling right down below. So 67 right now, and let me go over and make sure that I can pull up. That was the Libre, and what I want to do is get my sorry, that was my Dexcom. I keep saying Libre. That was my Dexcom, and I want to get my Freestyle Libre. It's a Libre 3. The Dexcom is a G7. So let's go ahead and get this up. Okay, there we are. And so my Libre is saying 56. So Dexcom is saying 67, and Libre right now 56. So let's go ahead and let's hop over and take a look at what my monitors are saying. And you'll recall that I have a Keto Mojo meter, which gives me ketone and glucose, and then a contour that gives me glucose. So let's go ahead and do that right now. By the way, go ahead and pop into the chat. What do you think my ketones are going to be? So right now, 97 plus hours of fasting. Okay, what do you think? What do you think those ketones are going to be? So let's go ahead and get the strip in for the contour. That's that one. And then we're going to start with the glucose strip for the Keto Mojo, and then we'll do the ketone in a minute. So what do you think, before I test the ketones, what do you think the ketones are going to be after 96 hours? All right. And then let's go ahead and grab, as I always do, I've got my little container here with my Lancet, so I can just grab a couple of those out. And you'll recall that the Lancet that I use is actually a spring-loaded one. And so basically you break the top part of this off like that. And let's see, let's do this one. And I'm going to bring this up so you can hopefully hear when I actually do the, okay, hopefully you heard that. And hopefully that gives me a good, yep, it did give me a good prick. And so there's my drop of blood. Get that started. And then over here on the contour. Right? And so what we're trying to see is what they will say. So 54 for the Keto Mojo and 57 for the contour. So 54 Keto Mojo, 56 for the Libre, 57 for the contour, and then you will recall that you recall that the Dexcom told us that we were 67. Okay, so we ranged anywhere from 54 to 67. Let's go ahead and get a ketone strip into the Keto Mojo. So go ahead and open that one up and get my strip in there. And then once that comes up, let's get a drop of blood to get that started. All right, and as is usual, I'm not going to show you that right away, but go ahead and put what you think is going to be in the chat, okay, in the chat. And we'll come back to that here in just a little bit. All right, so let's hop over and let's have a discussion. So intermittent fasting, if you were here last night, we did an introductory show where we began talking about the fasting process. We gave some history on fasting, different reasons why people fasted in the past other than for health and wellness benefits. If you have not watched it yet, go back and watch that show from last night. That was our check-in. Very good show that we went through. And so over the next several shows, next several check-ins, we're going to be talking about individual types of fast. And tonight we're talking about intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting has been one of these runaway phenomenons, right? So everybody is talking about intermittent fasting. And so what is intermittent fasting, right? So first of all, what's fasting? Let's go back and let's answer that question. That one we answered last night, but we'll do that again. So fasting is the voluntary abstinence from a particular thing. And so we are fasting from food, from calorie-containing either food or drinks. That's what we've been doing when we talk about fasting. That's what we're talking about, okay? And so, but what is intermittent fasting? So intermittent fasting is a process of you have two components of it. It is the fasting window during the time when you're not eating, you're not consuming any calories or fluids. In this case, we're doing calories, and it's followed by a period when you are eating. Okay, so it's a fasting period and then what we call an eating window. And so it's a cycle, right? So you fast, then you eat, and then you fast, then you eat. And the focus for intermittent fasting is not on what you eat, but it is on when you eat. And they've done studies where they have looked at people who are doing intermittent fasting, where they've had people who eat, breakfast, lunch, and supper at the typical times, 8 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, or 6 o'clock, depending on what your schedule is in your family. And then they've had people who ate in an intermittent window. So typically intermittent fasting is where you are having a constricted time where you simply eat between that time. And we'll talk more about that here in just a minute. But in the process of fasting, when they did the studies, they found that people who did the intermittent fasting actually had better body health. So they had more muscle, more toning, compared to the people who were doing regular eating, even though they ate the same amount of calories, and they had lower weight, so their weight had gone down doing the intermittent fasting. So exactly the same calories, exactly the same exercise, but all they did was they changed the period during which they were eating, and they saw the benefits. Right. So intermittent fasting is the process of cycles of fasting followed by eating, fasting followed by eating. Okay, so that's intermittent fasting. And before we actually get to the method that we're going to talk about, there are several processes that people use for intermittent fasting, several types of fasts. Okay, so you can do the one we're going to talk about is a 16-8, right? 16-8. You fast for 16 hours, you eat for 8 hours. That's the one we're going to be talking about tonight. But because it's the prototypic one and it's the one that is most commonly used. But you can do a 12-12. You can do an 18-6. You can do a 23-1. Okay? So all different types of intermittent fasting, and you are like I said, eating during a particular period and then fasting during another period. So it's a cycle of that process. The most commonly used fasting method, though, is the 16-8 method, where you fast for 16 hours followed by eating for 8 hours. And you'll see there a typical schedule for someone who is doing the intermittent fasting. Give me just a second here. Here you go. Right. So you see someone there. So 16 hours of fasting, and then you eat in an 8-hour window. So for example, right, you can go from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. That would be an eating window of 8 hours. And so so once you finish eating at 8 o'clock, then you fast all the way to 8 o'clock the next morning. So that's 12 hours. And then another 4 hours to noon gives you your 16. Okay, does that make sense? So you're fasting from 8 p.m. all the way to noon the next day. And then at noon you start eating, and you eat during that window from 12 to 8. Now, the interesting thing about intermittent fasting is many of us are already fasting for a period of this time, a portion of this time. So we'll come back and make a point of that in a minute, because often when we talk about fasting, people say, well, I can't fast. But if they begin thinking about their schedule, they're actually doing a pretty big chunk of whatever fasting method they would do anyway in their normal lives, right? But when we think fasting, a lot of times people say, oh, I can't do that. So anyway, so the 16-8 method, the most common, and it is you fast for 16 hours, and then you eat during an 8-hour window. And it is the one that I typically do. And I actually extend it a little bit more. So I tend to eat a little bit more confined, but that's not neither here nor there. But 16-8 is the one. So when I'm not doing my extended fast, I tend to do intermittent fasting. So how does this method work? So the method works because you're extending the fasting period. What does that mean? So most of us sleep during a 8-hour window, 7 to 8 hour window. So most of us will go to sleep at, say, 9 o'clock, right? So even if we move it back further, say 9, 10 o'clock. So we'll go to sleep at 9 o'clock, and when we wake up in the morning, then we eat, say, at 8 o'clock. So we go to sleep at 9, wake up in the morning, we have breakfast. And so the intermittent fasting period just really extends that a little bit. And one of the points that I make for people is that you want to start slow, and that'll be one of the pointers that we make here in just a minute. So it basically extends the window. So if you normally wake up in the morning and you eat, say you've slept for 8 hours, you get up, you shower, you get ready, and you're eating in the car on the way to work, or you eat with the family, that's already about 9, 10 hours, okay? And so the intermittent fasting period just really, the 16-8 really just extends that to noon, okay? So you stop eating at 8 at night, and you extend that all the way to noon the next day. So you're basically extending the process. And then the benefit of intermittent fasting, right, as is the benefit for fasting in general, it allows the insulin levels to drop. There we go. I think I just lost my other mic, but that's okay. So we're here now. All right. So it allows the body, the insulin levels to go down. Because remember, if you're not putting anything in the system, then the blood sugars go down, and we'll see that. You saw that on my graphs, but we'll see that a little bit more here in a little while when we look at my report. So it allows the insulin levels to go down because the blood sugars are going down. When the insulin levels go down and the blood sugars are down, then the body begins looking for other sources of energy, particularly as we get into that 16, 18 hour period, Okay, so 16:8. So it extends the fasting period. It allows the insulin levels to go down. Now, one of the things that you're out there thinking is, wait a minute, it doesn't allow me, because we know, right? If you've been following me, we know that the glycogen in the liver gets depleted right at about 24 to 36 hours. So you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, if the glycogen doesn't go away in my 16:8, how is my body then utilizing these other sources? Well, remember, as the blood sugar goes down, the insulin level also goes down. When insulin goes down, the body is, and we're not putting anything else in. That's the key part of this, right? We're not putting anything else in. So the body has to be in the process of burning the calories that are in the liver. Most often, we never get to the part where the liver is becoming depleted, right? Because as soon as we eat, 4 hours later, we're eating again. And so our insulin levels kind of stay high. And in that entire time, it is in the process of storing. Because remember, insulin is one of those storage hormones. Insulin is a switch. So when insulin is up, then the body is storing. But when we allow insulin to go down, because we're fasting, we're not putting anything in the system, then the body has to use the stores, and the initial stores that it uses is the store that's in the liver, and that's the glycogen. So it begins burning that as well. Okay, so that's the method. That's how that works. All right, so that's how the 16:8 works. So what are the benefits of the 16:8 method? Well, number one, weight loss. Because we just said that the body, even though it's not going completely into the fat cells and burning those as when we're doing more extended fast, it is using up the sugar, the glycogen that's in the liver. Okay? And when it's using that up, for some people, that glycogen gets burned off sooner. And as it does that, then the body switches into burning some fat. Right, so it's not as extensive as doing an extended fast, but that's okay, because anytime the insulin goes down, the storage component, the storage switch goes away. And that's a huge component of weight loss when it comes to intermittent fasting, because you're turning that switch off because the insulin is dropping. Improved insulin sensitivity is the other thing, right? So insulin is the hormone that decreases sugar. Right? There are some other things that it does, but when we are not taxing the body, and this is a good point to make. I was making this several times today in the office. If you go in your house or go to somebody's house or somewhere, and you see a piano, right? And if you try to lift that piano, you can't, unless you're like Superman, right? So you won't be able to lift that piano. Does that mean that there's something wrong with you? And the answer to that is no. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It means that we are asking you to do something more than you are capable of doing. It means that the piano is too heavy. So when we talk about insulin resistance and we talk about type 2 diabetes, the insulin levels are high, right? And people say, okay, well, that my insulin doesn't work. It's not that the insulin doesn't work, it's that we're asking the insulin to do more than it can. So the load, the glucose, the sugars, the foods that we're eating, they are much heavier than the insulin can lift. I hope you get that point. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that we're asking it to do more than it can do. And so if we are able then, let's go back to the piano example, if somehow magically we can make the piano lighter, then all of a sudden you can do the job. You can lift the piano. So same thing here when we come back to the body, talking about blood sugars and talking about insulin sensitivity. If we are able to somehow make lighter, decrease the amount of sugar that's in the body, then we are able to process it and do what we need to do with the insulin that we have. Do you follow that? So if for some reason, if somehow we're decreasing the amount of sugar that's in, the carbohydrates, because we're not putting anything in, then all of a sudden the insulin that our body's making is appropriate and able to do the things we need to do with the insulin that it has. So we're improving insulin sensitivity. Right? then we have better metabolic health. And we've talked, if you've been following us for any period of time, you know that when we talk about metabolic health, we're not just talking about diabetes. Now, diabetes is the prototypic metabolic disease. What does that mean? It is the one that encompasses the things that we talk about. It is the typical one. But there are so many other metabolic diseases. There is high blood pressure, high cholesterol, coronary artery disease, polycystic ovarian syndrome, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, obesity, and on and on and on. And so when we fast, when we do intermittent fasting, 16-8, where we're giving 16 hours where we're not putting anything in, it allows the insulin levels to, let's start with blood sugar. It allows the blood sugar to go down. When blood sugar goes down, insulin goes down. When insulin goes down, our appetite is not stimulated. We're not storing anything at that point, and the body has to begin using up the stuff that's in the liver. Notice the trend. Notice the process. If insulin is lower, right, insulin is not pushing stuff into the liver. That stuff going into the liver is called fatty liver, right? If insulin is lower, then it doesn't make the vessels in the body stiffer, the blood vessels. And if that's the case, right, because insulin, when it's high, causes stiff blood vessels, and that causes high blood pressure. So notice the cascade of and the trend that happens as we decrease insulin. So it improves our metabolic health. All of the things that we talk about when we talk about metabolism improve when we are talking about intermittent fasting. Okay? So improves metabolic health. Enhance mental clarity and focus. I just mentioned as I was doing my check-in is that as we get past that 12 to 14 hour mark, we begin feeling some clarity of thought. We're not focused on food. We're not focused on those routines that are associated with food. And so people say, hey, I feel clear. I feel like my thought process is better. And then simplicity and ease of implementation. So intermittent fasting works well because you are already fasting for 7 to 8 hours, right? And I usually tell people to start at night, right? So you start at night. So 9 o'clock at night, you're not eating. And when you wake up in the morning, guess what? You've already gone 9, sometimes 10 hours if you're sleeping 9 or 10 hours, but at least 8 hours. And it's simple. You're not buying any new food. You're not buying any different food. You're not cooking in a different way. All you're doing is you're not eating. And it's very simple, right? So most people, they eat lunch. So you're with the family, you're at work, you're on a trip. Lunchtime is usually noon. So they eat at noon. And then their eating window is from noon until 8 o'clock at night. If that's the window you're using. You can use different windows, right? Eating periods in terms of the times. But you get the idea. It's very simple to implement. So how do you start a 16-8 fasting method? Number one, you want to choose your eating window. And that's the point I was just making. So in this example, I said we ate from noon, so lunchtime, until 8 p.m., and then we fasted from 8 p.m. all the way to noon the next day. You may do something different. Your work schedule, your family schedule may require that you fast at different time. For a lot of people, the reason that they don't fast or fasting doesn't succeed is not because it doesn't work, but because they chose a window, an eating window or fasting window that doesn't coincide with their life. For example, if you've decided that you're going to fast and you're going to start your fast at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, let's do 6 o'clock. That's more typical. You're going to you're going to start the fast at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. But your family doesn't eat dinner, doesn't eat supper until 7 o'clock. Guess what? You're already setting yourself up for difficulty. Because either there are times when you're going to eat, you start at 6 o'clock, an hour later, the family's eating. So either you're going to break the fast and you're going to eat with them, Or you're not going to break the fast and say, well, I'm fasting, so I can't eat with you. So now you either are ostracized from the family, so you're moving yourself away because you don't want to be tempted. You're not sitting at the table. You lose that interaction with the family. And because we as humans like to have interaction, we like togetherness, our brain is going to say, man, this is not really working. So we're not going to fast. So we're just going to go eat with the family. Or you're going to feel guilty for saying, no, I'm sticking to my guns. I'm not eating. I'm fasting. So you move away. And so that automatically sets up some dissonance. It sets up some conflict, interpersonal conflict, some conflict within yourself. And people say, well, the fasting didn't work. No, it's not that it didn't work. It's that we did not set ourselves up for success because we chose an eating window that was difficult to maintain. Okay? So choose your eating window. Plan balanced meals. Plan balanced meals. When we do our check-in, when we talk about the fasting process, one of the points that we make is that the way you begin the fast, or prepare for the fast, is a very good indicator of how successful you're going to be during the fast. So preparing for the fast, getting ready for the fast, that meaning making sure that you are eating a well-balanced meal. Because if you don't eat a well-balanced meal, then you get into the fast and you run into trouble because during the eating window, you didn't do a good job of maintaining a balanced, nutritious, right? So not calorie dense, but nutritionally dense meal in your eating window. Also, stay hydrated. If you're not well hydrated when you're in the fast, it's going to be difficult because you'll feel lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty, all those things that go along with being dehydrated. And then people think that it's the fast that's done it, but it's not the fast. It's the fact that, hey, we didn't do a good job of getting hydrated. And then, of course, listen to your body. Always, always listen to your body. Your body will tell you when you need to make a change. Often we kind of plow through the fast, right, come hell or high water, and the body is saying, no, we need to stop. We need to interrupt. We need to not do that today because we're too stressed, we're too dehydrated, we're too tired, we're too something, right? And we feel that, and we're like, no, I'm fasting, so I'm going to plow through. No, you can start the fast again another time. It doesn't have to be this time. So as I've talked to people about fasting, I tell them, and you'll see here in a minute. So I'm not going to let me come off of that point. We're going to see that in just a second. Okay. All right. And just as I say that, I want to say hello to one of our community members that's just popped in. So Jennifer says, howdy, Doc. Hey, Jennifer, glad that you are here. Thank you for being here. Jennifer says, definitely not fasting. Did intermittent fasting of 16 hours. Super is fresh sweet. Supper, sorry, is fresh sweet corn from garden, fresh cucumbers, and fresh zucchini. Oh, hey, Jennifer, guess what? Hey, I was talking to someone today, and I'm going to do a shout out here in just a minute. Talking to someone today, and one of the points I was making is that we have to be flexible. Hey, there are some days when this is what we do, and remember the reason why we are doing what we're doing. This whole idea of reversing diabetes, improving our metabolic health. The reason we're doing that is so that we can enjoy time with family and enjoy the things we like to do. Okay. And so I have no problem with the fact that you're eating corn and chicken and all that stuff. As he said, baked chicken with that we butchered last Sunday. Total meal from our farm. Awesome. Love it, Jennifer. And you said you were 16 hours. You did 16 hours. So I'm giving you some music for that one. So very, very happy that you're doing that. All right. Okay. So we talked about method, how to start, right? So choose your eating window, plan your meals, plan balanced meals, stay hydrated, and listen to your body. And then here are some tips. And the tips are ease into it. This is what the point I was going to make a minute ago. So when we started this process, right, the challenge for the month of February was to work your way up to be able to fast for a 24-hour period, right? So that's what we said. And one of the points that I made to everybody was you want to start slow and move your way up. So if you normally fast for 8 hours, make it 10 hours. If you normally fast for 10 hours, make it 12. And if it's 12, make it 14. 14, make it 16. So work your way up. So you may not tomorrow be able to say, okay, I'm going to fast for 16 hours. That's okay. Start where you are and work your way up. Remember, we're moving in this instance, we're talking about 16 and 8. Start there. Start at wherever you are and then work your way up to 16. Eat nutrient-dense foods, point we were just making. So calorie-dense foods versus nutrient-dense foods. And we did a show several weeks ago. You can go see that on our, I think the playlist is called How to Reverse Your Diabetes. Okay, How to Reverse Your Diabetes. In that playlist, we talked about calories and we talked about nutrient versus calorie-dense foods. So eat nutrient-dense foods because those nutrients are going to help you during the fast. So during your eating window, don't skimp. Don't go and eat, a bag of chips or, 12 donuts or 5 donuts or whatever, right? And some ice cream. That's not nutrient dense. It's calorie dense, but not nutrient dense. Stay busy during your fasting period, right? So if you're going to do a 16-8, this is great. But I tell people I don't like to start a fast in the morning because when I start a fast in the morning, then my brain says to me, wow, I've got another 16 hours when I'm not eating. But if I started at night, by the time I wake up, I'm already fasted for 6, 8, 10, 12 hours sometimes. Okay? Stay busy. Plan things during your fasting time. So if you fast once a week, don't plan your fast on Saturdays or Sundays when there's nothing, you may be doing something else. Plan your fast during work because you're already busy at work anyway. And often the things that we do during that busy time takes our mind off of the fasting. Get enough sleep. So we're talking about tips for success in fasting. We're talking about 16-8, right? Intermittent fasting. So get enough sleep. As I did in my check-in earlier, I said that I was well rested this week. If you are not well rested, then you will feel tired, you will feel fatigued, and you will think that it's the fasting that's doing it. And it's not the fasting, it's just the fact that you didn't get enough sleep. And then be consistent. Right? Be consistent. Don't fast today and then, maybe I'll fast next week. And then, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it this next week. But if you're going to fast, if you're going to do a 16-8, if you want to do it once a week, do it once a week. Pick a day. As you know, I fast, and I typically fast to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now, these last several weeks I've started earlier for different reasons, but I still have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in there. For instance, today it's Thursday. I'm going to break the fast today, right here on the show, by the way. But I typically do it in the middle of the week. And I do it in the middle of the week because on weekends, that's my family and friend time. That's my community time. So I don't want to be fasting during that time because all of a sudden my brain is going to say, hey, this is not working. Right? So, but be consistent. Whatever you're going to do, be consistent with it. And what are some common challenges? One of the common challenges is hunger pangs. People say, oh, I feel hungry. And to really understand this, we want to understand the difference between hunger and appetite. Hunger and appetite. And on our on the website, I did a blog where we talked about the difference between hunger and appetite. Go through and watch that. A lot of more detail. But basically, appetite is that thing that is in our brain. It is not a physical thing. It is Aunt Sue makes delicious, macaroni and cheese. So when we go to her house, I'm going to have some, even though I'm not hungry, because I remember what it tastes like. Or, oh my goodness, we have that dressing at Thanksgiving. And so by God, I'm going to have maybe 2 or 3, right? So that memory of the food. So it's a brain thing. Or it's noon, so I'm going to eat. It's a brain thing. It's not hunger. Okay? And one of the things you can do to combat that is make sure that you're hydrated. Drink water. I have herbal tea here. Remember, we are doing non-calorie containing things in our fast. Social situations, another challenge. And we talked about this when we did our 4th of July special, right? Help me get through the holidays, right? Because when we're in a social situation, sometimes the pressure to eat interrupts, short circuits our desire and our plan to fast. So I tell people for social situations, plan ahead. Just like we say, plan your eating window with the family, plan your social situations. If you know that you guys are going to go, Sundays is your time you hang out with your girlfriends. Sunday's the time you go with the guys to play golf. Sunday's the time you go play basketball, whatever you do. Then don't plan for Sunday to be the fasting day. Right? Do it sometime else, because you're going to go, and particularly if food is involved in your social situation, you're going to go and you're going to eat. Or it's going to be difficult for you to eat. Once again, you're going to feel guilty for not eating, or you're going to feel guilty for succumbing to the pressure to eat. One of the two. So plan ahead for social situations. The other challenge people have is low energy levels. So ensure that you're getting enough calories during your eating window. Make sure you're getting enough rest during your eating window, and ensure that you're staying hydrated during your eating window. Right? And then plateaus. So, hey, I'm eating and this doesn't seem like my blood sugar is improving anymore, or I lost some weight and then it stopped, or whatever your metabolic issue is that you are using fasting for, intermittent fasting, you're plateaued. And you're like, okay, what's going on? What do I need to do? You want to adjust the fasting window or increase activity. If you recall, back now, I'm trying to think how long I've been doing the longer. So I've been doing the 72-hour fasts, but several weeks ago, you saw that I started doing longer fasts. And the longer fast I did was because my blood sugars were, or not my blood sugar, but my weight had kind of stalled, and I wanted to get lower in my weight. And so I intensified my fasting a little bit. Now, I don't do like a 96 like today every week, right? That's not the plan. But there are times where I will change my fasting. I do a 16-8 eating window on my non-fast, quote unquote, non-extended fast days. Sometimes I do a 24 or 23-1, right? Depending on what's going on, I will adjust it to suit what I need at that time, particularly if I'm seeing a plateau. So if you're seeing a plateau, you might want to adjust your eating window and change your activity or increase your activity. Right? All those will be ways that you can help. And that is amazing, right? So those are the things that people will commonly say, okay, this is what's going on, and this is the reason why I'm not fasting. In fact, we did a show on one of our check-ins, reason why people don't fast. Right? So go back and watch that on the channel. It's in the playlist that's called How to Fast Successfully. Awesome. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at my reports. All right. So let's hop over and let's do that, because let's take a look and see what's been going on with, let's see what's going on here. So boom, there we go. So we're 64. Wow. Okay. Now you see down at the bottom on the graph that I've been straddling, as I said, 64, 60, 70s the whole time. But let's go ahead and let's take a look at my my Dexcom report. And the first thing you'll notice right there, the big number, and that is what my average blood sugar has been over the last 14 days. Average blood sugar, 125. If I look at this over the course of 90 days, the last 3 months, you see my average is 108. I'm in target 88% of the time, with a target between 70 to 180, and my glucose management indicator is 5.9. If I look at the daily graphs, That's come up here in just a minute. And while we wait for that to come up, I'm going to pop over and I'm going to give you a sneak peek at what we are going to be breaking, some of what we're going to be breaking the fast with. All right, so I've got some green beans, I've got some brisket, and I've got a salad. So that's what I'm eating to break my fast today. But hopping back over, so let's go back. And so we started this 96 hours ago. So let's see. So right here, so this is 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, and then 96 hours. Okay, so on Sunday afternoon, right around 6 o'clock, actually it's 7 o'clock to be honest. So right around 7 o'clock, we stopped our fast. And right there, I had to change my sensor. That's why you don't see any numbers into the rest of the evening, right? So let's pick 6 o'clock as our time. So if I come up and 24 hours later, you see my blood sugar was 107. And then at 48 hours, blood sugar of 88. And then 72 hours, blood sugar of 76, 71, right? 71, 76. And then at 96 hours, which is where we are right now, blood sugars of 65. Okay, so if we go to 7 o'clock, 61. And that's where we are. Okay, that's where I am right now. So 61, so 96, 97, almost 98 hours. Okay, we're going to break that fast here in just a minute. And so the question for you, the question you're asking is, wait a minute, if you have not eaten in that long, why is your blood sugar not low? Or why isn't it zero? Right? And it's not zero, as you know, because the body has unlimited ability to create sugar, for one, and it actually burns fat to create ketones. And part of the triglyceride that it converts the fat to gets turned into sugar, right? And that's called glycerol, right? Triglycerides, right? That's what that glycerol component, and that gets turned into sugar, right? All right, so let's hop over, and I want to take a look. Let's see if I can get that plate out of the way now that I put that in. Let's take a look at what my ketones are. So if you think you know what my ketones are going to be, go ahead and put those drop that in the comments, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up my Keto Mojo meter or Keto Mojo app. All right, so let's go ahead and get the strip out and turn it on. And that now, hopefully that will pull up. Well, not hopefully, it will sync in just a minute. And then we'll get to see the ketones. So I'm going to guess maybe 1.8 or 2.6, 1.8, 2.3. 1.8 to 2.3. Okay, what do you think? All right, here it is. Oh, wow, 3.4. Yeah, so blood sugar 54 and ketones of 3.4. Now, I guess I should have guessed higher, right, given where I am in terms of fasting. And so in terms of ketones, remember, ketones that are below 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis. And then above 1.5 considered therapeutic. So less than 0.5 normal, 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. And so right now, I am in therapeutic, so 3.4. And if I look at the actual graph, the tan line, that's blood sugar, and then the turquoise line is those are ketones. So as my blood sugar has gone down, right, the tan line is going down, that means my insulin is going down, and insulin and ketones can't coexist. And so as insulin goes down, then ketones go up. And that's what you're seeing, that ketone of 3.4 that we just saw. Okay. In the middle of the screen, that big, that 0.8, that is the glucoketo index. And basically you take your glucose and divide it by ketones, and that gives you the GKI. Now, you're doing the calculation right now, and you're saying, wait a minute, 54 divided by 3.4 is not 0.8. Well, you got to convert the glucose into international units, and then you convert it and you get that number. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's hop over and let me bring my plate back because I am excited. I am excited for what I'm gonna eat. All right, so I've got some briskets there, and want to do a quick shout out to, well, I'm not going to shout out the salad, but I do want to shout out the brisket because, give me just a second here. So I drove out to Meridianville and got some of the salad because, or not the salad, but I got the brisket because I wanted to make sure that I went out and patronized the person who was there, and it is called Big Stack's Pit Stop Barbecue. Big Stack Pit Stop Barbecue. Okay, so shout out to you guys. Thank you for the food. I wanted to get out there and get some. Somebody told me about it, and I've not had this before, but I wanted to make sure that I get there. And George, thank you for helping us out, and thank you, Destiny, for your help and for your service. And that's what I'm going to eat right now. Now, this salad comes from a chain, and I went out with my team today to lunch, and I brought mine home. And of course, now that I said that, my brain is saying, okay, what was that place called again? And it was called the Urban Cookhouse. Urban Cookhouse. Okay, so that's where the salad is from. But hey, let's go. So let's see what we got here. All right. So first bite in over 97, almost 98 hours. Here we go. So I'm going to have some green beans. Wow. That is so good. And that brisket. George, Destiny, great. Love it. Wow. Can you guys tell that I'm enjoying it? Now, I did get some turnip greens from them, which I don't have on the plate. I think I'm going to get that later. Very, very tender, moist, flavorful. And these green beans are something else. Wow. You guys did a great job. So, Jennifer, how's supper? Delicious. Maybe I'll have some salad. How about that? Now, this is, let me see. The salad that I'm having is, it is the lime marinated steak and rice bowl, I guess. And I substituted the rice for their grilled vegetables, which is not in here. But let's come back to this view. In the salad, you'll see there's some meat, and that's the lime marinated steak. Okay. So I'm going to have some of this. Once again, neither of these places have I eaten at before. Once again, both of these, the meat is very flavorful. It's not tough. And I don't usually like tangy meat. And this is not too tangy. Just a hint of the lime. Delicious. Got some red peppers in here. There are tomatoes in here. Now, you guys know I normally when I break the fast, I don't, if I'm eating a salad, I don't usually eat the tomatoes because they tend to spike my blood sugar. They may not do that for you. If you are fasting, what do you typically break your meal with when you break your fast? Or if you have been fasting? Drop that in the comments. This is so good, y'all. You know, one of the things that I found with food is that a lot of people like the crunch of food. People like the crunch of food. And one of the challenges sometimes when you are trying to change your diet is that sometimes you'll change the foods that don't give you the textures that you like. So you'll start eating soft foods when you like crunchy food, or vice versa. Or for people who like the fizz from soda and they start drinking water or start drinking something else, then that sometimes causes them an issue. So delicious. I wonder if that's why I like nuts, the crunch. Yep. Delicious. So 98 hours, 96, 98 hours. And you get to see it right here. Oh, yeah. Okay, another piece of brisket and then let's talk. I've been paying so much attention to food, y'all. Okay, one more thing. Some more beans, green beans. Delicious. All right. So, let me get that down. All right. So, I want to let you know that your metabolic health can improve. In fact, at your fingertips, you have unlimited potential. You have the ability to make changes in your metabolic health. You have potential, unlimited potential for improving your metabolic health, for putting things in place that help your body to become more resilient, to decrease your medication for your diabetes, to improve other diabetes related metabolic syndromes. You can do it. And the potential is in you. You have within you the ability, the power to shape your destiny. And we do that here by teaching our Triple E method for success, the Triple E formula for success: education, empowerment, and encouragement. We educate with the shows, with the blogs, with the podcasts. All of that was with the intention of making a change in your mind, a mindset, a mind shift, a frame shift, if you will, to provide the information. We empower with the shows that we do, with the tools that we teach. All of the things that we're learning: emotional intelligence, how to create a menu, how to fast, what types of fast to use. That's what that is, with the intention of providing you with those tools so that you can implement the things that you learn. And then we encourage with the community that we create, the community that you're a part of, the community that you are helping to make more resilient, more rich. When you come and you share your story, when you share your information, that enriches the community. The Triple E formula for success. The HEAT model is one of the tools that we've learned. This thing that puts into perspective the reasons why we sometimes don't succeed with our eating plan, with our fasting, with our decision to be healthy. The things that push through those are given by the HEAT model. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. They are the things that cause us to eat when we say we're not going to eat. The habits that we form, those routines. It's lunchtime, so we're going to eat even though we're not hungry. We go to the movie, so we have popcorn even though we're not hungry. We hang out with our family. We go to the coffee shop, and we drink, and we eat a bagel, a muffin, something, even though we're not hungry. But because we're in that situation, because we form the habit of it, we end up eating. We eat because of emotions. When we're angry, when we're lonely, when we're tired, when we're depressed, when we're frustrated, when we're bored, and yes, when we're happy. All of those emotions are so strong. And if we let them get strong enough, they are going to plow through your decision to not eat something. And then, here on the channel, our call to action is this. When you show up, join the challenges. Don't just let them go by. They are the things that we use to begin helping you to learn how to practice the things that we are learning here. In the month of January, we talked about figuring out what your why is. What's the reason? What's the thing that pushes you to become healthy? Is it a child that you want to see graduate? You want a child you want to see go down the walk down the aisle. There's a dress you want to fit into. I know. There is a granddaughter, a grandson. There is a trip that you've been planning. You're getting ready to retire, and you guys are finally going to be able to go travel. There's a surgery that you need to get done. What is your why? Figure that out, because that's going to give you the power. It's going to give you the winds in your sail to move forward. In February, it was begin to fast. Learn how to fast for at least a 24-hour period. We talked about fasting here, and that's what we're doing here in this space. But work your way up to be able to fast for a 24-hour period. Then in March, what in the HEAT model is yours? What is your trigger? Is it a habit? Is it an emotion? Is it an access to food? Is it taste? I'll tell you mine. There are three of them. EAT. Emotions, access, and taste. They're all mine. Right? They're all the things that I struggle with. And then in the month of April, learn how to create a menu, a meal that minimized processing, that was whole foods based, that didn't have added sugar, that had healthy fats, lean proteins, that had starchy vegetables, non-starchy vegetables, that was tasty, and that was the appropriate size, portion size. And then in May, find someone to begin mentoring. Don't just let this stuff sit on the shelf. There are over 1 billion people on the planet. You can be the voice of change. They have either diabetes or they have prediabetes. You can change your family, your community, your church, your job, your neighborhood by becoming a mentor. mentor them, teach them the new year, new you process. And then in the month of June, get your labs checked. Figure out, we did a show where we talked about the labs you need to have done and have your doctor review with you. Go back and watch that show. Make sure you are monitoring. These are screening things to make sure that we're not missing anything or nothing is falling through the crack, or that we're catching things early. That is so important. And then for this month, what are you adding, or not what are you adding? This month was to add an activity, a exercise to your regimen. All through the year up until this month, we have not talked about exercise. Now, exercise comes in as a way of supercharging, boosting all the things that we've been talking about. So that's the month of July. Make sure that you are there and that you are working through this. And so back to our call to action. So 1, join the challenges. 2, when you show up, tell your story. Claim your seat. Say, hey, I'm fasting. I've had this success. I'm struggling here in this space. Because when you share your story, we know that we're not alone. Yeah. And if you can do it, then I can do it as well. And then when we see your struggles, we can come around and support you. And then we know that everybody else is here working in this space, and we are not alone in this process. And then invite someone to the community. Send someone a link. Send them a video. Say to them, hey, I want to work with you, just like back in the mentoring. I want to work with you to improve your metabolic health. You know somebody right now who can use this information. Send it to them. Let them know. As a matter of fact, call them up and say, hey, let's watch this together. Right? So invite someone. And the pillars of our reversing diabetes are these: decrease insulin, suppress appetite, and reduce sugar. When we decrease insulin, then all the metabolic things that we talk about, then the fatty liver, the obesity, right? That abdominal obesity, the hypertension, the high cholesterol, all of those things improve. The metabolic milieu improves when we decrease insulin. Suppress the appetite. If we suppress the appetite, then we have a chance. We have the ability to push through some of those times when, hey, it's not that I'm hungry, it's just that I remember what that feels like. I remember what that tastes like. And then reduce sugar. As we reduce sugar, insulin goes down. When insulin goes down, we got to start burning the fat, and we get all of those metabolic benefits that we have talked about. Awesome. Hey, in this month, we started a new feature, and it's called This Week in Review. Sunday mornings at 6 o'clock Central, where we recast the shows that we've done with some commentary in between. Someone who's missed it, we love when you're on the live, but if you can't catch the live, make sure you watch us Sunday morning at 6 o'clock Central right here on Dwain Woode, MD. All right. So, everybody, as I always say, I'm glad that you're here, glad that you got a chance to hang out with us, and glad that I got a chance to hang out with you here in this space. As I always say, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. We'll see you tomorrow at our check-in, then Sunday morning, 6 a.m. Central, and then on Monday, right here on Dwain Woode MD Live for our new show. Good night, everybody.